Let's dive into it now in our position group spotlight, brought to you by Pilot Flying J. And the corners, they all start with the Pro Bowler, Denzel Ward, the former first-round pick. He is out there. He is your top corner, and you're hoping that he can take that step this year to become like a Darrelle Revis, where he can eliminate half of the field.
Yes, and first it begins in practice. And when you look at these guys and the progression that they need to have, you want to see it in practice first. And again, we've been talking and harping on the fact that out here in training camp is our preseason, so to speak, but games happen in practice first. You win it first in practice, and I believe that Denzel Ward has been doing an awesome job preparing himself before and after. And Nathan, me and you have been seeing them not too far away from the booth right here, that before and after practice, Denzel and Greedy have been working with the coach on their drills, and it's been showing off in practice. He had a pick six, and we was talking about his pick six from last year. So the group has been led by Denzel Ward and his progression. He's done great things on special teams. Well, when I coach here, he blocked the field goal. So this guy has been tremendous for this team. We want to see progress on that. We want to see him continue to be great, just like his counterparts on the other side of the ball in OBJ. But you know, all across the board, this cornerback group has been phenomenal, and they have depth. But again, you talked about it, the injury bug. You know, will they have the elite guys behind them to keep the game going when those guys need to come out for a breather?
Yeah, you certainly hope so. As we mentioned at the top, today you're without your number 2 cornerback, Greedy Williams, with a shoulder injury. You're without your number 3 cornerback, Kevin Johnson, the lacerated liver, but it is great to see him on the field behind us here today. You're without your number 4 cornerback, Terrence Money Mitchell, sitting out the second consecutive practice with a knee injury. And you're also without your 5th cornerback, MJ Stewart, who was just acquired from the Bucs over a week ago and has been your starting nickel with Kevin Johnson out. He suffered a hamstring injury in yesterday's practice. So when you think about that as your top 5, that sounds very, very good, and you feel very good about it. We don't know when Kevin Johnson will return. We hope that with Greedy Williams, it is not a long-term injury. Last year, Denzel and Greedy combined to allow only 1 touchdown pass all season long. So they made a great duo, and you're looking for Greedy to take strides in his second year. Cover Johnson was one of the best players in the early going of training camp before suffering his injury. And Money Mitch has been one of the best players in training camp. Multiple takeaways. And MJ Stewart even has an interception, as we saw in that highlight. So these guys, the 4 I mentioned, have all had very good camps and are all very important to what you're doing, and none of them are out there. As you saw MJ Stewart on the sideline, none of those guys are going to be out there today. So, Josh, to me, this has to be the day that Baker and this passing game looks its absolute best.
Or, since we're concentrating on those cornerbacks, you'll see one of these young guys step up to impress the coach, to say, hey, coach, you put me in. I know it's because of injury, but here's my opportunity. I'm going to show you what I have, and I'm going to succeed at doing it. The problem is sometimes these young guys don't get the real live reps in practice to do what they already know, because sometimes knowing and doing is 2 different things. You can learn something in the classroom while they're in the meeting room looking at film, and you can mentally think you have it until you have to physically do it on the football field. So when a guy can take what he learned in a film study room to the field and then have success, then you'll see some of those young guys bouncing up and moving up on the chart because of injury.
And some of those young guys to keep an eye on today. You saw Tavir Thomas in our last shot, number 20. He's been primarily a special teams ace. He will probably work as your starting slot corner today. And it's been Donovan O'lumba, number 33, who's 6'2", 205, a first-year player. Spent 1 game with the Cowboys after the whole season on their practice squad. You see him there. Tall, long, lean, good in this kind of cover 3 scheme that you're going to see at times. He's a guy to certainly keep an eye on today. I think we're going to get into, that was kind of a walk-through speed. I think we're going to get into this team, and you see Sendejo and Joseph, your safeties. We obviously know the bad news about Grant Delpit, so Sheldrick Redwine moves up there as your number 3 safety, but today it'll be O'lumba and Thomas working with Denzel Ward, and I'd expect to see Donnie Lewis Jr., number 37, last year's 7th-round pick out of Tulane, who has inside-outside versatility, and number 38, A.J. Green, who has been, the top undrafted free agent in really this year's class around the NFL, as we're seeing them move at a little bit of a faster speed. Donovan Peoples-Jones getting the block down the field.
That's what you want to see.
A little intensity there on the very first play of the game.
Oh, yeah. That's what you want to see, especially in pads. While they can line up against each other, O'lumba and Donovan and DPJ, when they line up against, they're about the same size. They're both 6'2", I believe, and they both have some weight on them. That's a good matchup. I'm actually excited for O'lumba to get the opportunity to practice more in practice against the ones, starting against Baker and company. But when you look at that group, Tavir Thomas, he boasts speed, so he can play the nickel position in both speed, while Denzel holds down the other side, and O'lumba has one side, while Javier Thomas will hold down the nickel position if he has to.